The Elder Scrolls game series. One of my favorites. I still remember Morrowind, how it was one of the games on compact discs, sitting on my shelf, waiting to be installed and played. Back then, I didn't know how important of a game it will become for me and millions of people around the world. It was just a game, waiting for its turn to occupy my very limited hard disk space. When I finally got to it, first of all I was impressed by the graphics and customization of a character that you played as, but it was a rose with some nasty thorns. For once, it ran like a slideshow, even if back then I had not much of a demand for high FPS, and yet it was way too little. I lowered the graphical settings to almost the lowest so I could play it. Changing my PC during the playthrough helped immensely. I could play fluidly on high settings, and what a game it was. Both me and my younger, by only 1 year mind you, brother, spent most of the summer school break playing The Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind. What an experience that was. I wish I had so much enthusiasm for the next entry in the series several years later. This time around, first one to play Oblivion was Martin. No, not Septim, just Martin, my friend, neighbor and classmate. All in one, like it was in good old days when we were young and were still full of hopes and dreams. I watched him play it and I thought to myself, yeah, I enjoyed previous games so much that I need to play this one as well. Oh, what a fool I was. I installed Oblivion on my PC in hope to relive the early days of Morrowind, but in poor performance only and regretfully. Bloody hell, I thought the game itself was dull, cumbersome and overall not to my liking. I felt cheated. How come I feel like this when playing Morrowind just few years back? Felt like a dream world. I found no answers to that. I uninstalled the game after around 20 hours of trying to like it, to no avail. When Skyrim first came out, I didn't play it in the year of its release, unlike two previous ones. I thought I would hate it the same as Oblivion. I was strong, I didn't give in to all the epic music and eye-catching trailers. I kept on playing MMORPGs and online shooters. I was convinced to finally play it several years later by my friend Zach, and I am thankful that he managed to do it. The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim was the most immersive gaming experience that I ever had. I even suspended looking for a new job just to degenerate myself and spent over 500 hours in my first and last playthrough. I played for over 20 hours in one gaming session just to sleep over 10 hours after that. I didn't care about the time of the day or night in the real world. I was literally living in Skyrim, which became to me more real than what was just outside the apartment windows. Nothing like that happened to me before or ever since. It was quite a unique time to say the least. When I first heard about Oblivion Remastered, I thought to myself, oh no, I'm gonna need to try it again. And boy oh boy, how right I was. So, to all the people unfamiliar with the Elder Scrolls series, we start as a prisoner. This time around the Emperor himself greets us to the adventure. Then we go on our merry way to freedom, just to find out few moments later that we need to help save the world. Oh well, let's do it I guess. Unfortunately it involves closing the bloody Oblivion gates, which is a chore from hell, let me tell you that. I hated it back then, I hate it now. Whoever designed those abominations of dungeons, I curse you. I'm only joking, but it's bad for real. I'm not gonna tell you all about the main story here, it is decently written and quite good to be honest, but nothing to knock boots off your feet. I like it how it ended, simply and nicely. I know that Oblivion's side quests, missions and stories are well liked, loved and revered by many, but I tried almost all of them and I was not impressed. Waiting for the appropriate time of the day or night and figuring out what to do was just not entertaining for me. I like it in Morrowind back in the day, when all you had to go off was conversation with NPCs and a text in your journey log. But now, when I'm old and tired, I prefer Skyrim's handholding. I really do. However, in Oblivion it was something in between the two. Anyways, after not doing side content for several hours, the game forced me to, and I'm glad it did. It is strange, but I got used to how Oblivion plays by then, and I could do other quests with way less annoyance. Additionally, some quests were very unique, like one inside of Mage's Dream. Still, most of them were not very good. Moreover, some side content is boring as hell. I do not recommend doing Imperial City Arena. It's too long, uninteresting, and I almost fell asleep doing it. In the middle of the day, mind you. That's right, you have been warned. I had high hopes for the coveted Dark Brotherhood questline. So far I have been mostly disappointed. It was good enough, but still not as brilliantly fascinating as I remember in Skyrim. Maybe I remember it all wrong, but what the hell, these are my memories after all. I was mildly disappointed by the whole Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion. Partially because I didn't care about any of the members, while in Skyrim it was quite the opposite. I cared what every one of them had to say and what fate was destined to every single one of them. In Oblivion they were just some NPCs for me. They were saying all the same stuff every time I came back from the mission. I was sick and tired of it all by the end. And I was even glad and relieved when I realized I won't have to ever see them again when I was done with the whole quest chain. When it comes to overall writing quality, it's not bad, but it was better in other entries in this series. I think even The Elder Scrolls Online had better writing. It is not bad by any means, don't get me wrong, but something was just lacking for me. Adding to that the fact that many plot devices, logically speaking, could not work at all. Like a map to the secret location which shows to anyone passing by at noon in a public place. Makes no sense at all. Best written questline is the main storyline, and I am very okay with it, even if it got some major flaws. I just hope we're gonna get something better in the 6th game of the series, but who knows when will it come out. Okay, so how this game even plays in its modernized version? Well, quite alright to be honest. Still a little clunky in some places, but not bad considering its roots. I would compare it to the Enderal in that regard. It is nothing that will give you adrenaline pumps and satisfy your urges for extremely fluid gameplay, but is serviceable. Melee combat is okay, range as well. Nothing more to say here really. Difficulty levels are not very well designed, as there is too much of a jump from one to another. You can of course mod it thanks to the community efforts, but still, I stayed away from mods for this one, to only critique the game for its own merits and flaws. It is still true, enemy scaling is ridiculous in this game. Seeing random bandits equipped in which should be very rare and expensive equipment is very much out of place. Oh well. But maybe combat is not the most important thing in this game. Maybe it is the gameplay outside of it. I don't know about that, but let's just try it out. We got infamous persuasion minigame in dialogues that is still as bad as it was back then. Don't get me wrong, after you learn how to game it, it's going to be easy for you, but still annoying that you have to do it in the first place. However, shining some light and looking on some bright sides, it is just unbelievable how you can enter the conversation with almost any NPC. I know it was done with less cost than it appears, thanks to some clever programming, but nonetheless impressive as hell, as you don't see things like this anymore. Minus the fact that the most of the dialogues are boring as all hell, and the same lines are repeated by different NPCs. At least, most of them have their unique names and daily routines. But still, I don't like that beside the NPC you're talking with, all the other ones stop moving and freeze up in time all of a sudden. And their eyes and those Bethesda facial expressions are still here to haunt us. And indeed, time doesn't pass when you are in dialogue window, except for you, that one NPC, Fire and Rain. Ain't it some magical stuff right here? And too many NPCs look awfully similar, and too many of them share the same voice actor. It is better than in original, I hear, but still not enough for me, I reckon. Moreover, the NPCs' names are not easy to remember, and in many quests you can have hard time remembering which was which and who was who. I could tell you all about the different systems and character progression, but I feel like finding it out for yourself is one of the best pleasures Oblivion can give, so I'll mostly leave it at that. However, I must tell you that it sucks how fast the armor degrades. I found myself repairing the whole gear set several times in one dungeon. Bloody hell, it helps when you level up your armor skills by being hit over and over again, but even in endgame, I found myself thinking that it still degrades too fast for my taste. Okay, that's it. I wanna talk about something else entirely. About something that is the main allure of these Elder Scrolls games in my opinion. Game world. It is nice to have almost total freedom. Where you wanna go, what you wanna do. Feels refreshing after so much games on rails. But it has its price as it triggers heavy time-wasting mechanism in my inner code. I'm a kind of person that will admire a vista from the top of a hill for considerably longer than what is deemed normal. Yeah, no wonder my first and only Skyrim playthrough took over 500 hours. I just need to look at those views and visit every cave and ruined tower. Take a look behind every tree and boulder. It will be the doom of me someday. Maybe I just like observing worlds. So-called the real one, and those virtual, digital, imaginary or what have you. But it is not all fine in the Kingdom of Danes, Cyrodiil. For one, there are too many annoying loading screens, even when entering the smallest of buildings. It frustrated me to no end. Navigating through dungeons, caves and Oblivion gates feels like a chore. After around 20 hours I only went to any dungeon if I had a quest there. Total disaster in that regard, as in Skyrim I loved them, and I would go to every single one that I discovered along the way. Closing minor Oblivion gates sucks. You need to locate the tower in which at the top will be sigil. It is annoying to find a way through it first of all, and secondly it is boring as all hell. Why did I do the whole Allies for Bruma questline where I needed to close Oblivion Gate and each city is beyond me? Maybe I want too much role-playing in role-playing games that I play. Who knows? Not to mention visually dungeons and Oblivion Gates look not very interesting to say the least. And the never-ending forests and meadows outside that look all the same can be bland and visually tiring. The thing that saves Oblivion visually is the fact that towns have their own distinct characteristics, and they don't look all the same like in so many other games. That I can really applaud to. Moreover, there is a great attention to detail when some quests progress. The locations of interest can change the look somehow. For example, cleaning all the skeleton and bones after reclaiming house for original owners. Things like that make me smile because I observe the lack of such details in modern titles. Okay, so that's all fine, but how does this game actually feels to play and to be in? Let me tell you, the problem with games like Oblivion is that oftentimes we play video game to make our life simpler for the time we spend inside the game world. But if there are too many elements that we need to think of while playing, it could make us uneasy and even stressed out. Don't get me wrong, if my real life is a smooth sailing at the moment, I really enjoy depth and complexity to the game. I guess there is time and place for different types of gameplay. Unfortunately, if you have plenty on your plate in real life, you get stressed and overwhelmed. The last thing you want is to find more of the same in the game that you play. For instance, many quest items that lay around for you to find, they have physics attached to them, so you can misplace them simply by walking and pushing them around. What a bizarre way to accidentally make some quests unfinishable or very hard to finish. You constantly need to watch out and double check if quest was not botched by some glitch or bug. That can be really hard to track, especially when it's your first time with a Bethesda title. Well, at least value is good this time around. For $50 on release, you got full game with all the DLC and expansions. Over the years I've heard many positive opinions on Shivering Isles and Sheogorath. First of all, let me just say that Shivering Isles look way more interesting visually than all the rest of the game world. Unfortunately, enemy AI is malfunctioning in this new area. Some of them just stand there and take it, instead of attacking back or blocking your attacks at least. And quests that's supposed to be different and interesting were simply boring most of the time. I appreciate the effort, and I don't know if it's me, but the main theme of this game in one word would be boring, in my opinion. Maybe I just got spoiled by twists of action in recently played The Last of Us Part 2, who knows? And contrary to the popular belief and opinions, I haven't grown to like Sheogorath. I found him unpleasant and irritating, more than fun and interesting. Although the talk with Deus was quite something, he reminded me of the architect in the Matrix film world. All in all, I would say Shivering Isles was mid, in my boomer opinion, and I hated how it ended. Ah yes, now's the time for my favorite part of any review, and I don't even know why I grow to like it so much. I guess I always enjoy to read and listen to the technical talks about many different things. Starting as always with visual side of the game. Graphically it looks totally different than original, almost unrecognizable, if not for distinctive characters and objects. It is more true in dark environments, as in full sunlight we can kinda see old Oblivion glancing at us from behind the fresh coat of paint. Even if the amount of graphical overhaul is astounding, I think the animations, even if touched, stayed too similar to those from the original, which makes it all feel weird, especially the old Bethesda facial expressions. Ugh, creepy stuff. Shadows moving throughout the day cycle are still impressive today, even if they do it too fast outdoors and not at all inside of buildings when glancing through windows. The game overall looks good, so I won't hold any minor visual glitches and imperfections against it. Performance-wise it's decent, but it lacks scalability. The game will scale to a point where further lowering graphical settings will net no gains. To make the game work in the range of 150 to 400 FPS, I had to set everything on high with textures on ultra plus quality FSR 4. Don't get confused, it says 3 in the game, but if you have set it in AMD Adrenalin software, which is on by default, it is actually FSR 4. Resolution of 1440p, Lumen software on low, where I could not see the difference between low and high, other than the extra 10 to 20 FPS on low. You can check out my Oblivion Remastered performance video, where, if I remember correctly, tested the game on Ultra with quality FSR without any frame generation, and in my playthrough for the review I used AMD Fluid Frames, as it works better than built-in FSR frame generation. I mean, FSR frames were looking better, but the added latency was too high for too little visual smoothing gains. When it comes to added latency, I would even live with the lower frame rates by like 20% with hardware ray tracing, as some elements look really improved compared to software Lumen, but the hardware version of Lumen just adds too much latency for me to take it. I was aware of this added ray tracing latency many years ago when I first tried it out with RTX 3070. I think it has to do with having to access the RT pathway, which takes too long, I guess. Maybe in the future it will be better. There is some traversal stuttering, which could be Oblivion's old core coding or Unreal Engine, but most likely both combined. It is pretty minor, so no big deal, but worth pointing out. For some unknown to me reason, performance during fights inside the Imperial City arena was very bad. I would understand if there were hundreds of NPCs watching, but there is barely any crowd. Don't know what the heck. Maybe just someone messed something up in the code. Other than that, performance is good enough for a Bethesda game. So what about the audio? Was it improved as much as the graphics? Yes and no. People were right, as I could not remember it myself. Voice acting is really not the best here, but still serviceable. As I mentioned before, too little voice actors for too many NPCs. Maximum sound volume could be higher as in many games. Maybe I should finally invest in some amplifier for my PC sound. I am hesitant to do so because it can create another set of points of failure in the computer system. Maybe one day. Fortunately, music is as good or even better than I remembered. I have a sneaking suspicion it was the main reason I kept playing the game, despite the fact I wanted to uninstall it on numerous occasions. So, how about those famous Bethesda bugs and glitches, huh? Well, game crashed 7 times, all after achieving 75 in bow mastery, and the infamous double paralysis bug crash. Bloody hell, I wanted some nice fantasy here, and what I got was a major disappointment. Things like that are what's ruining fun otherwise we could have, and that I cannot accept. Shame! 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 What else? What else? Ah yes, when you enter a new location it takes several seconds to load everything in iView to full level of detail. No the big deal, but noticeable and immersion breaking nonetheless. Other than those gripes, Oblivion Remastered was not as broken as one could expect. All in all, game took 70 hours to finish with all the DLC and side content, minus several online quests that I didn't want to finish. So, what are my final thoughts about The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered? I'm glad it exists for other people who wanna play it, but for myself, not really. Unfortunately, I'm such a sucker for RPGs and The Elder Scrolls music that I played the damn game, even if I wanted to uninstall it many times. This is my least favorite title in the series, yet I kept on playing. What does it say about the game and what does it say about me? I kinda dislike Oblivion for the fact that it reminds me of the worst aspects of the series, while Morrowind and Skyrim stuck in my memory as almost perfect gaming experiences. I can't quite put my finger on why is that. Maybe I could not immerse myself into the world like in the case of the other two, which are in the group of my favorite games. I guess Oblivion felt more like a game than experience. And what a fantastic experience for me was Morrowind and Skyrim. It is not a new feeling, I felt exactly the same as I first tried Oblivion back in the time it was released. It just felt like a game to me and not a whole world of adventure as Morrowind was just a few years back. I guess it's like having several kids, and one of them just have noticeably weaker set of genes than their siblings. I guess it's just the nature of things, you can't win them all. Sad thing is the fact that even if I didn't enjoy this game very much, it is still better than most of the games that I try out. What else can I say? I can recommend Oblivion Remastered to all the people who wanna try it out. It is not a bad game, just one that I didn't like. And it's fine as many others do like it or even love it. So who am I to deter anyone from trying it out? Give it a shot and maybe you will love your time spent in Cyrodiil. I hope it will be the case. Anyways, time to wrap this up, say goodbyes, and I will see you in another Great Late Review.